KRYPTON Chronicles. The Superman Superboy DC Universe Internet News Show.
We are back. KRYPTON Chronicles Episode 3. And this is your host, Rennie Cowan.
And this is Cowan.
We have some exciting stuff to talk about this episode. And we will be discussing everything about Man of Steel. And I mean everything that we can think of, whether good or bad. The Man of Steel has gotten a lot of mixed reviews. There are some who either love it or hate it. There are some who are saying Christopher Reeve is still my Superman. There are some who just want to put the Reeve movies into the past. We will be talking about this movie's version of Krypton, which is the John Byrne version from the graphic novel. World of Krypton, which was originally depicted in the first 9 pages of Man of Steel #1 in 1986 for the first reboot of the DC Universe that took out Superboy. We'll be discussing that. We'll be discussing the flashbacks, how the Smallville scenes was not a linear storyline like all the other traditional movies or plot lines that we've seen. We'll be discussing Cavall's performance, Michael Shannon, Amy Adams, and the very controversial Can Superman Kill? Me and Kyle, we saw the film in 3D, 2D, and in IMAX 3D, and again in 2D, so we both have seen it 4 times, and I think that we have a well-rounded view now of the movie. We've seen it so many times, we've looked for things, and we even counted how many times he yelled in the movie, Henry Cavill. We'll talk about that. So let's get on with it. Episode 3 of KRYPTON Chronicles, the podcast. Kyle, what did you think of Man of Steel? Was it everything that you thought it was going to be? And what do you grade it as out of 1 from 10? What's your grade for the movie?
Wasn't my vision. Actually, I had a better idea for Man of Steel. I thought maybe it would be more traditional Superman. I don't know. It's a real well done, fantastic movie. I can't really say it's one of my favorites right now, but I think they have a lot to work on. I think this is maybe a little bit of an experiment or something. They took a lot of chances in this movie. So,
from a scale between 1 to 10, how would you grade this film?
I'm going to have to say probably an 8.
That's pretty good. That's actually a pretty good rating, since I know on our other last 2 podcasts is you really were not in love with this movie at all. So surprisingly so, after me and Kyle saw it for the first time, we saw a press screening of the film 2 weeks before it came out. Kyle looked at me and he was like, well, I didn't expect it to be that good. So it took a while for Kyle to come to terms that it was actually better than he thought it was going to be. But like he said, there's things about it that he's still not happy with, that he has kind of a nitpicky, that he's going to be nitpicking about.
Yeah, I'm not choosing sides either. I'm not going to say what's better than this. I think if people want to do it, that's fine. I think it's kind of childish myself, but I'm in the middle ground right now, so if there's anybody who wants to join me in the middle ground, that's fine. But I'm not psychotic, or I'm not a fanatic. I'm not going to overkill it.
Yeah, it's funny to go on Facebook, and just read all the Facebook reviews, because I think everyone's been reviewing it everywhere on all of the Superman forums, and I mean, if Reeve was your Superman, it seems like they're just going to stick to that, and they're going to be loyal, and they're going to be like, you know what, Reeve is my Superman, forget this movie, Henry Cavill is okay, but I don't like this movie at all. And there's some people that just think it's great, people are like, this is the gravy from the White House or something, As for me, I really, really liked it. I wrote a review, and I know I gave it a 9.5. I wasn't too sure about giving it a rating that high, but I was just so pleased with how it was reinterpreted, how it grabbed from the modern comics. And when I say modern comics, I mean the graphic novels that we have already had in our possession for years. For example, Birthright, Superman Secret Origins by Geoff Johns. A lot of stuff was taken from that directly into the movie, was taken from that and put directly into the movie. John Byrne's World of Krypton, Man of Steel from the 1986 reboot, the first 8 pages, that was Krypton right there. The John Byrne version of Krypton, that's what was used in this movie. I mean, to the T. It even had Jor-El's robot Calyx in it, which was actually brought to Earth. and that's the robot and the ice cave. But I really, really liked the John Byrne Krypton version. I always have, even when it first came out in 1986. I was 15 years old when that reboot came out, but I thought it was cool. I was like, wow, this is really sophisticated, and there's robots, and it's sci-fi. I thought Krypton should be sci-fi. I mean, if these are people, a civilization of people that can travel from planet to planet, it should be sci-fi-like, science fiction. So that part I really, really liked. And as I said in my review, I gave it a 9.5 because I just really, really liked how it took everything from the modern day comics and put it into a movie. And just as a comic book reader, because I'm a huge comic book reader, and I know Kyle is too, I just really, really loved seeing that all on film. It was really a lot of fun. So it's not Superman the movie, and to me, Superman the movie will always be the grand slam of superhero films. That will always be the best, in my honest opinion. But as a Superman movie, I thought this was a really, really good effort. I was not a fan of Superman Returns. I'm still not a huge fan of Superman Returns. I've seen it maybe 8 or 9 times, but as far as Superman movies go, Man of Steel was a Superman movie to me, based on the modern day version of Superman. Kyle, what did you think of Krypton?
I think everybody has their own interpretation of Krypton. I think it should always have a unique kind of look, any kind of version they try to put out there.
Did you like the whole sci-fi thing, like the spaceships and the space battles and the robots?
I guess it was more, this one was more science fiction, definitely, than the other ones. It did have some fantasy, but it's more science fiction, so it had more to look at, I guess you can say. The creatures you saw in the background, I guess you saw some creatures. I don't know what they were. I forgot. I guess they have a name for every creature. The ones that kind of look like a
Haraka.
Well, Haraka with the flying one, but I did see another one where just on kind of like it looked like a hippo a little bit. So you kind of see it towards the beginning of the movie. You see little creatures roaming around the grasslands, wherever you call it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they were, but that was pretty interesting. You get to have to notice it really closely.
There was a lot to look at.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was very exotic, exactly the way Zack Snyder described it.
I guess with the whole the Phantom Zone projector, they still didn't really do it like the comic books, because I guess they just use a satellite kind of thing in the movie. I guess in the comic books, I kind of wish they would have done it like in the comic book. I mean, I know it's kind of maybe cheeseball, but then I just like the whole projector thing in Silver Age, where they just project the villains. I really wish they would have done it. I really didn't get that part, really.
Yeah, they had the projector in the film, the Phantom Zone projector.
It was just a satellite. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was in Man of Steel, that classic,
They just upgraded it. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It was just upgraded I really didn't get it, to tell you the truth. I didn't get that part, really.
They kind of just reworked it and
I mean,
redesigned
I kind of want to see the old
purpose.
school stuff, I guess if they're going to be more traditional to that, I mean, that's just me right there. I didn't get it too much. That's why I'm reading the novel. I'm understanding the novel better than the movie.
Lara, when she was giving birth to Kal-El, in the book it was described as an old, ancient birthing couch.
Well, yeah, it's like an alternate universe. The novel, it will be based on the movie, but it's like alternate. It's like a mirror image, because they had some stuff where Jor-El was being arrested by Zod's men, and they tossed his robe off of him in the book.
It's pretty interesting.
In the movie, I'm believing he has it on.
Yeah.
So it's an alternate world. I mean, the Man of Steel novel is alternate universe compared to the movie. It's a different plane of existence. So one thing is going to happen, one thing is not. I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess they were kind of disgracing his Jor-El, and we're going to toss your robe down. I thought that was interesting. They didn't show it in the movie.
Yeah, their culture or
her
whatever.
Culture, yeah, that's part of the culture. And before he got killed, he got injured before. I mean, when Zod was attacking his house, or whatever you want to call it, his building, Zod's spaceships blew it up, and part of the whole wall caved in on Jor-El. They didn't have that in the movie.
So it was more dramatic in the book.
I think it is more dramatic, and I mean, he got hurt, and Kelex, or was it Kelex? Kelex attacked
the
them.
robot.
The robot flew at them in the book and attacked his men, so you didn't see that in the movie. I think the novel was probably a little more dramatic, more understanding, so
more attention to detail and to character.
Mean, Greg Cox, I mean, I don't know what else he's written. I know he's written the Infinity Crisis novel so far. He's written the Infinity Crisis, 52 novel, which was based on after the Infinity Crisis and Final Crisis. I mean, I'll watch the movie 20,000 times, but I think the novel puts a little bit more justice into to the movie, because the movie, they kind of rushed it a little fast.
It did feel like the pacing was kind of rushed. I think they were so afraid of it being a slow movie.
Yeah.
You know, like Superman Returns was a lot of times very slow moving. So I think just because of marketing and because of, you know, the studio wanting it to be a fast-paced movie, they did that. And maybe that wasn't a good thing. The drama and the action, and you can keep everyone's interest, you know? I mean, that's the way movies are today, though. They just throw a bunch of action at you. And I've walked out of movies today going, what was that movie about? I'm like, what did I just watch? You know, a bunch of action and stuff being blown up. So that is one of the criticisms with Man of Steel. People were like, well, everything happened so fast. All it was just a bunch of action and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm still taking my time. I mean, maybe you guys already read the novel by now, you hardcore fans. I really don't understand the whole potential of the movie, really, to tell the truth. I mean, I get the Zod coming after him and all that, but I just want more detail. It
also could have been that Greg Cox based the novel on an earlier draft of Man of Steel, because I'm sure that he was writing the book during the making of the movie.
Yeah, probably maybe it was Goyer's first draft. Maybe he got an idea from Goyer. I don't know.
Or from cut footage. You never know.
Cut footage, maybe.
Because it did feel like the beginning of the whole Krypton, Zod comes in and Jor-El's there and he kind of challenges him. There was something going on, you know. There was other things going on that we didn't get.
Usually movie novels they always add stuff to it most of the time, because I read a lot of movie novels on any kind of movie, really, and sometimes the ending could be different or be a whole, you know, it's like alternate universe. So it's not based on the movie, but it's also its own kind of story in itself. I mean, just from reading it, so.
You know, back to the Krypton scene, I really liked the Haraka character. I thought, you know, I was like, oh, how cool. You know, Jor-El has like a pet. I know he was like his transportation around the local areas of Krypton, but I kind of felt bad when he got hurt, when he landed on the platform, and I think there should have been a scene there or something where Jor-El could have lost Haraka and see him weep or something. And he just kind of left him there, and I felt bad for him.
I wanted to see more of him, too.
Yeah, there were things that I just wanted to see more of, but I liked Lara. I really liked that she was the one that initiated where Clark went to. It was her idea to send him to Earth. She just wasn't standing by and just watching it and holding him and kissing him and just putting her head on Jor-El's shoulder. And I mean, she had an active role in it, and I thought that was great. I really, really liked the Lara character, and I like her death scene. I really loved the whole visual of that, you know, Cal, make it a better world than ours. You know, I just thought that was great. I thought that was very, very well done.
I guess she could have left anytime she wanted to, because of the robot, Kate.
Yeah, there were other
I don't know whatever the robot was, but the robot mentioned to her she can get off the planet. I guess they had an extra spaceship or something. I don't know. I mean, it was in the movies, so she said she'd just rather stay behind. I guess she figured there was really no hope for her to leave. I mean, what would be the point? So.
Yeah, well, and two, of course, as soon as she said that, you know, Cal, make it a better world than ours, I mean, she just was in flames. You know?
I'm sure the robot meant well.
She would have had to have been pretty fast.
I'm sure the robot meant well, but it was in the program, the robot, so it kind of makes you wonder if she really could have got out there if she wanted to, if she didn't stand around there and kind of drifted off in space.
I thought she was very brave, though, the way she died. I mean, she was fearless, you know.
Yeah.
She just accepted her fate, but she was fearless because she knew she was sending Kal-El to Earth.
That's true.
To make a better life for other people. So I really liked the sense of hope and the bravery in that scene and her death. That was really well done. So let's talk about Henry Cavill. What did you think of him as Superman? There's been a lot of criticism and a lot of people arguing over about who their Superman is. And
wow.
My Superman's not him, it's still Christopher Reeve, or my Superman's Dean Cain. What did you think of?
Wow, Dean Cain. I haven't heard too much about him. Wow. I heard a lot of criticism so far. I mean, they've been comparing that movie mostly to Smallville and the Reeve series most. I haven't heard much about. I think the Lois and Clark show is kind of blown out the water. I haven't heard too much about that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I haven't heard too much about that one being in the mix. But other than that, I think he did a pretty good job. I mean, he played his own Superman. I think that's all we wanted to see, someone play their own Superman. And Ralph never got the chance, so he didn't live.
Brian Ralph didn't really. Yeah. He had to do Reeve.
He had to live in the shadow, so he was just reenacting his part. And you know, Henry Cavill, I guess he's read the comic books. I mean, they had a list of what was his favorite Superman comic books, and I guess he's kind of read maybe the comic books and kind of interpreted it into his Superman.
Yeah, he based the comic books or his version of Superman Superman on the comic books he read. That was the only study he did.
Yeah.
For his Superman role.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess there was like 5 favorites he had, he read. But, yeah, I guess he just
Red Sun,
and, of course, Death and Return of Superman.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like that? I think that's number 1 and everybody's favorite. And Search for Kryptonite, which was Superman and Batman comic book.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was not a Superman alone comic book. It had Batman, so it was a Superman-Batman comic book on that one. But other than that, though, he did a pretty good job, I think. I hope he plays a good Clark Kent. We really don't know how he's going to play Clark Kent. We haven't really seen that, so
we've just seen a snippet of it.
Yeah, I mean, not much to judge. I mean, you can't really...
I liked how he looked.
Yeah.
I really loved how he looked. And I liked how they didn't go overboard. It kind of reminded me of John Haymes Newton in season 1 of Superboy. Because John would wear jeans, nice shirt, and maybe a jacket and jeans and glasses. Yeah,
kind of normal. Yeah.
He was Clark, but he was not so overboard that it was just totally ridiculous, you know, like what's wrong? Like, dude, what's wrong with you? Which they had to explain, you know, a lot of times in season 2 of Superboy, you know. I mean, Andy McAllister would be like, "Are you okay? Like, dude, what's wrong with you? You know, what's wrong with you, Clark? What's your problem, you know?" I mean, I love Gerard Christopher's, you know, I mean, everything he did.
He probably overkilled it mostly in season 2 because I think he might have done more than Reeve did in season 2. I think he might have taken to the next. Not like it's bad or anything, but I mean, from watching and comparing to the other seasons, I think season 2 he really took it beyond Reeve on that one. He was real funny. I mean, and I'm glad he kind of toned it down in season 3 and season 4. It was the Avengers, the Avengers of Superboy, so they had to kind of set it in for some different change. But other than that, though.
But it reminded me of John Haymes Newton when, you know, the first thing, when, you know, he held out his hands to Lois, he's all, "Hi, Lois." And of course she knew who he was, you know. But what do you think about Lois knowing his identity? Do you think it's going to go over well?
I don't know. I think it's okay.
And they already got it going on, too.
They already got it going on, so, I mean, I can't do anything about it, but I really think, I mean, not like she needs to be stupid, not know a secret. She's going to find out, but
eventually she does.
Eventually, I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. I think that's
whether it's an alternate universe
I think that's what I like about John Byrne. What I liked about it, she finally found out. I don't know what issue it was, and it just kind of made more sense. I think the writers were just tired of her being stupid and not knowing the secret, and I think that was appropriate for that time. And I think, that was ahead of its time period. That was the early '90s when she found out, 1990s. And I guess for this movie, that's cool. They want to be different. I mean, she didn't really know his name. Really, she just knew he was from another planet because she was in a spaceship, and she got injured, and he said it might hurt a little bit, and all that.
She knows he's Clark Kent.
Yeah, and that's all she knew.
And she knows he's from another planet. Yeah. I mean, of course she knows everything now about that.
Yeah, she does. But towards the beginning of the movie,
she was with Jor-El.
Little by little. So yeah, little by little, she was learning more about him. You know, but it didn't scare her. The digital version, the virtual version of Jor-El. It didn't scare her, which is really amazing because it's amazing because she
was pretty brave.
She saw him who he was, you know. She didn't see him as a scary person. She knew he was a good person.
Yeah, and I really liked her. So, I really like how she kept that aspect of Lois Lane, you know, that kind of like, it's like she's going to go out on that cliff, that ice cliff, climb into that hole. It's like, that's what Lois Lane would do.
She's brave. Yeah. She wanted to see, scoop of the story.
Yeah, so in that way, she was just like Lois Lane all the way.
Yeah, I guess it works for this movie. I mean, like I said, you know, we'll have to see how it goes well when the sequels come out, so.
I think their friendship really developed nicely.
It did pretty good.
A lot of people were saying, it was too fast, you know. I mean, they're already kissing, and look, they're kissing amidst all the destruction, you know. That's not romantic, seeing all of Metropolis all devastated.
The only thing I thought they really need to work on Metropolis, it does look like a normal city to me. I'm sorry, I'm a little picky about how Metropolis looks, guys. I mean, it's looked that way in the Reeve series. It's looked like New York City. I'm really criticism about that. Metropolis has to look like its own city. I mean,
so it's got to be like a Gotham, but but a Metropolis.
Well, that's what I like about DC.
Look.
I like about DC Comics. They always have their own kind of unique kind of look for each character they live at. And Marvel, they always stick to the. I don't want to get into Marvel. And Metropolis, that's the only thing I didn't like about the Reeve series. I really wish they would have done a better job on the. I mean, Krypton was great. Smallville was great when they introduced it in the first movie, but Metropolis just looked like your average day city. So,
right.
I think Superman Returns gave it some justice. They really put some thought into Metropolis.
They did.
It wasn't my favorite movie, but maybe they're leading to that. I mean, when I saw in this movie, I just saw a normal Metropolis. I just saw like your everyday city, maybe going to downtown Riverside to me. It just didn't look like Metropolis. But since I guess after Zod and Superman destroyed, I mean, pretty much they remodeled the city. So we can only guess maybe it's going to have a different kind of look. I hope it does. I mean,
it does look like a normal city, though, to me.
I really think they need to. I think.
And it was devastated. It was totaled.
I'm hoping by that time. I'm hoping they're going to remodel it. Maybe that's just maybe that's how we're going to get the whole Metropolis kind of look. Hopefully, maybe thanks to Zod and Superman for destroying Metropolis, they're really going to make it look better. I hope. So maybe that destruction and chaos wasn't bad after all. But I didn't like how they did Metropolis in the movie. It still looked boring.
And I feel bad for the people of Metropolis. I mean, what do you think the death toll is? They never mentioned it in the movie, but
really
people
bad.
died. Thousands of people had to have died in that.
I felt really bad for the people who died in that movie. So died in the characters or something. Yeah, there sure was a lot of death tolls.
But it totally reflects our time, because today we're having, all these natural disasters, these tornadoes, floods, earthquakes. I mean, we're having them on extraordinary large scales today, so it totally reflects the fears of people of today. These big disasters, of cities being leveled, so maybe it's a subconscious thing. You never know. But there was a lot of violence in the film.
Oh.
And I don't... That's maybe one aspect of it that I probably didn't like most about that. I just thought it was kind of overboard, the violence.
Very.
But hey, look at the threat. The threat was to destroy the human race. I mean, Superman had a huge burden on his shoulders. Forget Metropolis. It saved the human race. I mean, Metropolis is going to be totaled, but if Superman can save the human race, that's what counts. I mean, that's what he was saving. I guess when you weigh the cost, what is it, a few thousand people in Metropolis or the entire world? I guess you're going to go for the entire world, and, But I think Superman did his best to save as many people as he could. That also was, I could see that in the movie. And Cavill, I met him in person because I went to the world premiere in New York, and I was there, on the black carpet. They call it the black carpet, not the red carpet. And I got to interview him. I got like one question in, and all these reporters were just like pushing me everywhere. And I'm so glad that I'm 5'8" tall, because most of the women I was surrounded with, who were also reporters there with, I don't know, whoever they were with, they were like maybe 5'5" or 6'6" or shorter than me. And I was like, you know what? This is Superman, and this time I'm going to do a little bit of pushing. So I put my camera in there, and I got it. I snagged him. I got my question in there. And it wasn't the greatest question in the world, but I got to talk to him. Actually, Cavill, in real life, he seems really nice and kind and very pleasant, and I really liked that about his personality. He felt like Superman to me, and I really liked that. The new suit really I really started to like it more and more the more I watched the movie. Now, because I've seen the movie 4 times and I've watched the trailers over again, I've been seeing all these pictures and interviews, and I don't know if it's like, changed my thinking or whatever, but after that, but now when I look at the Reeve costume, I started thinking, just the other day, wow, this is really outdated. And I was like, what am I thinking, Because I grew up with the Christopher Reeve movies. But, the more you talk about it and you hear them talk about how the Reeve suit was based on those strong guys in the circus, how they would wear, the underwear and the spandex to cover themselves, because back then you couldn't show much skin. It was like, I don't know, biblically wrong or something, or society just didn't accept it. So more and more I got to thinking about it and hearing about it. I was like, now that I look at it, I'm like, I can see how people can think it's old school, and compared to the new suit, it is completely outdated. I mean, it is. It is. I still like it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you see Christopher Reeve, he's Superman. He nailed it. He got it down. But the suit did need an upgrade. I do agree on that. Like when I was in high school, when I saw back in the late 80s, they came out with this comic book series called Day of the Krypton Man. And Superman wore this awesome suit, just like Henry Cavill's. And it was red, and the arms were black, and it had little white frills and a little bit of a yellow stripe down the middle. It was just like Cavill's, and it had the boots, but it didn't have the cape. And the first time I saw that suit, I was like, wow, that is fantastic. It's so sci-fi and so alien, but still so Superman. You could still see his muscles. You can still tell that he's Superman if he only had the S on it. But I thought it was fantastic. It's called Day of the Krypton Man. I think it came out in 1989.
90.
Came out in 1990. But seek out that story, Day of the Krypton Man. Came out in 1990. It was just a fantastic, terrific story. And there is actually a comic book with that whole suit on the front cover with him standing there and he's got his arms outstretched. So the Henry Cavill suit is actually not a new, fresh idea. All of this stuff was put into motion during the John Byrne reboot. So, you know, a lot of people criticizing The Man of Steel, they're watching it without knowing anything about the comic books. You know, a lot of people, I mean, because there's fans, Reeve fans or Lois and Clark fans or Smallville fans, you know, whatever their version of Superman is, a lot of these people just have not even read the comic books. And they're going into Man of Steel thinking, what did they do to it? You know, they screwed it up, or the suit is stupid, it's hokey. But actually, they have been building up on this since the John Byrne reboot. And the version of Krypton that I saw in Man of Steel, that has always been my favorite version of Krypton. When I first read the John Byrne reboot, I didn't necessarily like what he did with Clark because he took out Superboy and he made Clark too normal, I think. But I loved his Krypton. I remember that. That I really, really loved his Krypton. I loved Calyx the robot. I loved all the robots. I loved how it was all technological. And it wasn't like the Donner, you know, with the crystals and all that. But I liked it because it was sci-fi. It was grounded in sci-fi. And to me, that's what I thought Krypton should have been. Science fiction. And this movie did it. It did the John Byrne version of Krypton. And I give that thumbs up. I'm giving it a better grade than I usually would for any movie for just doing that, for doing the John Byrne version perfectly. I loved that. So now let's go to Smallville. They did Smallville a lot differently, and you know what? I liked what they did because it's original. They didn't do what was in Superman the movie. They did not copy it. It wasn't told in a linear fashion. It was all done in flashbacks, and I really like that. I think that they grabbed the viewer and the emotion of the viewer a lot better. I liked Kevin Costner's character, and I liked how he was modeling young Clark's personality and his morals. I thought that was all very well done. His death, I thought, was very well done. I really, really liked that. Comparing to Superman the movie, I hate doing that, but I thought that was very, very sad what happened in Superman the movie, how he just dropped dead. I mean, he's having a conversation with him like everyday life, and then he drops dead. That was very sad. But I really, really loved Jonathan Kent's bravery in this film and how he stood by what he believed in for Clark, even at death. And that to me was really good, how he just held out his hand, and that was all he said. No words, just held out his hand. That to me was, I mean, if I had an acting role like that where I didn't have to say anything but just hold out my hand and just speak without words, that was great. I loved that. I would give Kevin Costner an Academy Award for that. I thought that was fantastic. I loved that. What did you think of the Smallville scenes, Kyle?
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked I saw some Easter eggs from the Smallville show on there. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of Easter eggs in the Smallville scenes.
You know, some of that, and I just thought it was really well done. I think, they kind of kept it to the last version. Smallville just ended about 2 years ago, so, that's probably the most recent Superman incarnation, really. So they really, they had the little girl look like Lana, so she looked a little like the Lana from Smallville.
Yeah, she had dark hair.
And Pete Ross, they really got him right. Well,
he was well done. He was very well done.
He was jerk in this one, but it wasn't like the Smallville, so they did do something different, which was really... But he changed. He changed his character because Clark saved him, and then after that, he was like,
well,
Yeah.
you're the good guy, you know? He's like, why am I making fun of you?
Yeah.
You're the good guy.
So I
like
see.
that. Yeah.
And they also in the novel they did mention Whitney in there. So Whitney,
Yeah, Whitney was
is not
in there,
probably
yeah.
not in the movie. Maybe he is, but there's a few things I wanted to mention on that one.
But I guess Whitney was based on a different version in the
Probably.
comic book. So he even goes back. I mean, there's some of these characters, you know,
further back
from the Superman. I mean, if you pick apart every single character in Smallville, all the other characters, they have existed in the comic books or in Smallville or in some kind of incarnation of Superman before, you know.
Even if you hate them or love them, you know, they're there. They're just part of that world.
Yeah, I loved the Easter eggs, and a lot of people are really, really debating over whether or not that's Christopher Reeve's face on Cavell's
Looks
during
like
that
to me.
scene. It looks like Christopher.
They did that with Superman Returns. I mean, Marlon Brando. I mean, wow. I mean, that's probably a first step right there. So
Well, they did do that, yeah. And
Reeve's face to me. So
yeah, they put Reeve's face on Brandon Routh when he turned around and smiled at one point.
I guess
did
he
that,
did,
and
so.
Which I always thought was just in bad taste.
I mean, that's fine.
But
when
in
they-
this scene, it was done well. I mean, if it was done intentionally, I thought it was done really well.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it.
It was a moment of heroism.
I'm just glad they didn't have a digital version look like Reeve, like the whole body. I thought that would have been very terrible. I think they've done that too many movies with copying people to look, you know, I think it looks kind of like, I don't know, especially with Reeve. I mean, since he's been passed away for a while, I think it's kind of disgracing if they had a full body version of him walking around in the background. I thought that would be kind of dumb.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hokey.
Yeah.
It'd just be too weird.
I mean, what's funny about this movie is that even the spoilers they had in the beginning, wow, they really made me, they had these off-the-wall spoilers. We really didn't know. I mean, this guy wouldn't, I mean, we heard something about maybe a Reeve look-alike, or we did hear about this actor from Smallville was going to play Lex Luthor.
There was a lot of rumors.
So there was a lot of rumors. I think they were just doing that on purpose to get your attention. So
it could have been, you know, it makes people think, and who knows, maybe somebody saw it at a sneak preview or something. Say, hey, look, it's an Easter egg, and then one person hears it,
That's
and then
true.
Before you know it, it's on the internet, and 10 websites are like, there's a Christopher Reeve Easter egg in this movie. You know?
Yeah, well, you know, it gets your attention, so they kind of just did that purposely. You know, it was done
Yeah.
purposely.
I mean, to be honest with you, the first time I saw that scene, I thought it was the lighting and everything, and I remember looking at it going, was that who I thought it was? And then I was like, no, that's just a trick of the mind.
Yeah.
And then me and you were talking about it after the press screening, and then we went to see it again in 3D when the movie came out. And we looked at each other and we're like, it was Christopher Reeve.
It is.
So it's like the more we saw it, the more we were convinced it was Christopher Reeve.
It is.
Or is it that we wanted it to be Christopher Reeve?
Nah, I don't know. Hopefully they'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about it. It's not a big deal anymore.
But aside from that, but for those who haven't seen it in 3D, I really don't think the 3D makes that much of a difference. Because it was shot in 2D. Zack Snyder shot it, you know, handheld in 2D. So it was not shot in 3D. So the only way to really get a lot of fun out of 3D is to watch it in IMAX.
Agreed.
That's the only way.
Yeah, that's probably the best way you're going to get true 3D for
Yeah,
that movie.
that was that was the best way of getting the full effect, I think, was in IMAX. Otherwise, just watching it on a regular screen in 3D, you're just like going, what's the point, you know? I'm like, why is this 3D? Why am I watching this? So whether you watch it in 2D or 3D, I think it doesn't really matter.
It's usually when you watch, what I noticed when you watch a movie in 3D in front of a TV screen, it's actually better than watching it in a theater because there's just too much going on.
What do you think of Michael Shannon? His version of Zod.
I'm still Terrence Stamp guy. He's the ultimate Zod. But Michael Shannon did a pretty good job.
He's kneeling. Kyle is kneeling before Zod.
He might have overkilled it with some stuff, but I kind of felt sorry for him towards the end. You know, you kind of felt sorry because he was talking about his people towards the aftermath. I don't know whatever happened to those Kryptonians. I guess they went to the Phantom Zone. I didn't get that part, but I guess
we really don't know if they died. I guess they died because if they exploded in the Kryptonian ship,
and I don't know.
Or they went back into the Phantom Zone because the projector was inside of the craft, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess something to do with the projector. They didn't really explain that because Lois is like, I know how to send them back.
So they probably went back. I don't know.
Like, really?
That's just like a Easter. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know if we really didn't see the Phantom Zone too much. So I mean, we really didn't see anything of the Phantom Zone. So we don't know if they're probably gonna maybe show up. Probably not really. I'm not really looking forward to it because we already seen Phantom Zone, different versions of it, so it's really not important.
So we can do without the Phantom Zone.
I probably can, yeah. So, but Michael Shannon did a good job. I'm glad he killed his character off. Tell you the truth, I love Zod. I'm just tired. I just don't want to see any more Zod. I think they
had enough of Zod, huh?
I think I had enough of kneeling before Zod for one day. But he did a good job, and he played it his way, and I kind of felt sorry for his Zod. He really lost everything towards the end of the movie, and that was his weakness. Anger was his weakness, as Superman's weakness was because he cares for people. So, when Zod lost it right there, that was his weakness. He didn't, he
didn't think clearly.
No.
He didn't think Superman would actually kill him.
No. Actually, what he said was even me or you, so it was a death match. It was Mortal Kombat right there. So it was, it was a good fight though. That was probably one of the best scenes I've seen, him fighting.
It was a great scene.
It was really good. I mean, it was really well shot, and I liked how he couldn't control his heat vision. Zod didn't know how to react. He was like, making those sounds, and it kind of was like, I think it was just so much for him. He couldn't handle it the first time, but the second time when he used his heat vision, he was really focused on that point. So he kind of knew what to do, and he saw those people in the corner, those nice people, everyday family you might see once in a while.
Average American family.
And, he was real focused towards the end, he was like, okay, I'm going to kill these people, but I'm going to take my time to see if Superman does something about it. So I like,
and he knew that would tip him off too. And so why he tipped him off,
I'll never know.
He just lost it.
Yeah,
he lost it, and I really, really liked what Michael Shannon did with Zod. I just love that scene where he's got that dust in his hand and he's like, "My people." I just crack up every time he says "my people," and it's funny because even Cavell did that. He's all, "I know who my people are," I just, every time I see that in the film now, I just kind of laugh, my people.
Yeah, he was
my people.
He's a warrior. He was made that way. He didn't have a mother or father like everybody else on Krypton before him, because they wanted to be more advanced. So they lost their humanity a long time ago, Kryptonians. Yeah, so when they went to that direction in genetic engineering, they just lost it. So, Zod was jealous of Superman. He had everything. I mean, look, it must not have been the greatest planet on Earth. To him, it was a mudball planet. But, he had everything. He had a great life, and then he's been looking for Kal-El for 33 years, so that's a long time. So he's been planning, and he's been kind of focused, so he really hasn't had a great life, even before or after Krypton. So you kind of really feel sorry for his character. You really do. You don't feel sorry for villains.
He was a very tragic character.
You don't feel sorry for villains.
Michael Shannon.
Not too many villains you feel sorry for, but
but him I actually did.
Yeah.
His intentions. His duty was to protect Krypton and to preserve Krypton. That's his purpose, and he even said that. He goes, "That was my purpose. That's what I was born for," and he has this dirt in his hand, so, and the dirt's just going through his fingers. That was just so well done. He did such a great job at that. I loved Terrence Stamp. There's just something those three villains in Superman 2, there's just something so fantastic
I did love that look.
That whole movie. It's still going to be the best battle ever. The battle scene in Superman 2 with Zod, Ursa, Non, and Superman. That's still going to be the best superhero battle scene ever. In any movie. But, just the psychological acting between Shannon and Superman, I really, really thought that was so very well done.
I love that face expression he gave Zod. I think when Zod was done explaining his sad story, I think he gave him like a little smirk. The heck is your problem? what? So I don't know if you guys noticed that he gave him kind of a smirk towards there. I like that. I thought that was kind of funny.
And Zack Snyder being the visual director that he is, I really did like the scene with the skulls. How it whole developed, how he was telling him his plan, what he was going to do to Earth. And then before you know it, his suit becomes black and the skulls are everywhere on the planet and he's just falling into the skulls. He wants Kal-El to join him, It was kind of like that dark moment, kind of like crossing paths. Are you going to take the red pill or the blue pill,
Wow. Yeah. Definitely my favorite line in the movie is when Jor-El tells Zod when he tells Superman he's a bridge between two peoples. So I did like that. I did like that line. He's better than human beings, and he's better than Kryptonians. He's in the middle, and he can really be a hope for both races. And I liked how Russell Crowe just said that word. I thought that was really interesting. I love that bridge. I love that saying. I never heard that.
You can save them. You can save them.
Yeah, he's a bridge between two people. So I thought that was really great how he just ended it that way. Yeah. So
a lot of people are saying that there's a lot of Christian parallels in the Superman movie, that Superman's Jesus or is Christ-like. What do you think of that? Because I know there's a lot of in it. I mean, I can pick apart tons of stuff.
The church part had the mostly. I mean, in that
the
part,
church scene. Yeah,
that was. I mean, that's
getting advice.
Not really hard to tell there. Yeah, getting advice, and it was funny. The priest was maybe a little. I don't know if he was really scared of him because he announced, I mean, I have to turn myself in. I think first he was in shock, but I guess the priest got really comfortable because he felt...
He went into,
his sermon or
his
whatever. His
Christ-like mode, I'm still a pastor and I have to be loving,
So, I mean, he probably was...
He didn't dial 911, he was really concerned with his thoughts, so I thought that was well done.
He was just, he probably was on lunch break or whatever. Who knows? But I just thought that part was really good, was really well done. You saw the cross with Jesus on it, I think. Yeah, in the background. And
I liked how Jor-El punched the wall, and he said, you can save all of them, and when he flies out, he is in the cross position. And I brought up another one. Someone asked me on Facebook, hey, did you see this? How there's all these Christian parallels? And I was like, yeah.
So, yeah.
And his cape is like a scarlet red color. It's kind of like Jesus' robe.
Yeah, of course.
Which I thought it was interesting.
So, definitely, it's Christian-based, really. So, I mean...
There are a lot of Christian themes,
I mean,
He's the Savior, Zod is the devil, and perhaps Lex Luthor's the Antichrist.
Christianity is probably the biggest religion in the world, so, I mean, if they refer to Superman, that's where you're going to have to refer to, because it's the only thing that makes sense.
Are criticizing, the studio for trying to find a market in the Passion of the Christ fans, which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, why not? It seems like they're just trying to take it for every penny they can get, squeeze every dime out of it. Hey, let's go for the Passion of the Christ fans. So, hey, that's business, so.
That's true.
But who knows, maybe for the sequel they might play off more on it. So what do you think we can expect to see in the sequel?
Hopefully a little less violence, but I don't think I'll never get that wish.
I think it's going to be more like a classic Superman movie, because now he's going to be Clark Kent.
Yeah.
He's going to be changing into Superman. We have not seen him change into Superman.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think when they need to
shirt rip, we haven't seen that.
I think they need to keep that always traditional. That always needs to be traditional, because what I didn't like about the new 52 is that it's little tiny robots that form in his body. So it's like more technological.
Bites.
I mean, does he really have time to stand around and wait for that? I mean, come on, get real. So I'm really hoping they keep it traditional. I mean, I know they based it on technology and made it more alien-like. That's cool, but they need to really keep that traditional. So I hope it's nothing off the wall. Don't pull a new 52 on me, or I'm done with the series.
Yeah. I don't want no, Spider-Man remake. He doesn't have enough money to pay for the laundry machine.
I mean, he can have many different suits he wants, but just don't make his common suit what he's been wearing throughout, like in the one we just saw. I mean, don't make it technical. It's not rocket science. You're going to make him more alien, and you might as well make him look like a monster. You're going to do that, so. He
still had a little nerd aspect to him, but in an attractive way. So I like that, how they made Clark. So I'm really interested to know what kind of Clark he's going to be, because we really didn't get much of it. So I'm really excited to see that in part 2.
They need to work on the suit that really bugged me throughout the whole movie, and I'm sure you guys would notice his arms. I mean, I know he really worked out really well.
Yeah,
but
he's got the
arms, they look
kind of.
Yeah, well, it's not that. It's just like it looks like a bunch of giant bumps coming out. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, if you're like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm sure, but I mean, that's just carrying things too far. I mean, does he super compress his arms to look big when he's Superman? I mean, if that's a new superpower, that's a good one. And when he looks like, and when he's dressed normally, you know, he looks, I mean, you can tell he's in good shape, but his arms don't look like that. So I'm sure they used a lot of computer stuff on that one, probably. Make him look
The flying
normal.
looked really good.
Just make his arms look normal. I just think he just looks like he's on steroids. And that's my own opinion, so.
He really, really worked out for this. Yeah,
he really worked hard.
Really, really hard. I know that all of that's really real. It's real muscle. It's not, you know, whatever they did in Superman Returns with the padding on this costume, whatever.
It's just his arms.
I mean, Brandon Routh is a big guy. I met him in person. He is a big guy, but I hate the Superman Returns outfit. I mean, I like it more than the Lois and Clark suit. That's actually the suit I hate the most. But
just make his arms look normal and natural in the next movie. I don't think it really matters. I mean, we don't have to see him look like Hercules or something. We already know he's a strong character. I mean, we don't.
So you're saying tone it down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look real. I mean, come on, get real. I mean, when you see him dressed like Clark Kent towards the last movie, but we didn't really see his arms kind of bulge out. I mean, it just didn't look.
What do you think when he flies? He like punches on the ground, like he's like, "Move away, Lois." What do you think of that?
I mean,
do you think he should be able to control it? Like
stuff is
like
great, but I mean,
other incarnations?
Some of it looked like a cartoon, guys. I hate to say that. Some of the flying stuff did look like he looked like
kind
a
of
Blur.
Like the Flesher cartoons. Huh?
He kind of looked like the Blur. Instead of running fast, he was flying fast. So, I mean, some of the flying stuff was great, but they did use a lot of CGI. Totally, a lot of it in this movie, and they need to tone down on that because, I mean, Superman is supposed to be flying natural. He's not, you know, a rocket ship coming out of the sky. I mean, they still need to
I kind of didn't like
work.
the rocket ship thing. I mean, I know he was using his full force to go inside of that beam and to blow it up because he was saving the universe. So, you know, he yelled and screamed. And how many times? We counted how many times he screamed.
8 times. At least 8 times.
8 times? I counted 7.
Well, when he grabbed hold of Zod when he was going to hurt his mother.
That's right. So that would be
that
8.
was like that was very short, but that was 8.
Yeah.
So 8 times. I mean, there was two scenes where I could see him yelling, which when Jonathan Kent was taken by the tornado. I mean, I can see that. That I would scream too.
It needed
if I saw
a scream, yeah.
I mean, I can see that, yeah. And then when he killed Zod, he was in shock,
but it was just overboard. Don't you think? I mean, what did you think of the screaming? Did you think it was a little overboard, though?
Well, when him killing Zod, or just the screaming, all the
screaming.
Oh, I don't think they needed any more than 2. I mean, I think with him
2 yells.
That was it. I mean, I didn't want to see anything really of that, but I guess with Jonathan Kent getting killed, you know, tornado, and him killing Zod. I mean, that was probably the most powerful scream because it had a little echo towards the end when he killed Zod. I mean, you heard him yell, so. But
that was totally appropriate.
Yeah,
that scream
was totally
was like
appropriate.
a scream of, you know, like, what have I done?
And you did see some tears.
I had to do that.
Yeah.
But I hated doing that.
You saw some tears come out of his eyes on that scene, so he would have to look.
And maybe the screaming going up into the beam, maybe that was appropriate.
And I liked
but the rest of them was just kind of like, okay, you know what? Even I thought that was a little weird when I was watching the movie.
I liked it how Lois gave him comfort towards the end after killing Zod, because I think he needed to hold on to somebody.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Lois was there, and no matter how he put his hands around her, she just comforted him the best way he could, because that was pretty dramatic scene I think I've seen in any kind of Superman movie. Of course, comparing that to when Superman had to spin around the world because Lois died, that's probably as dramatic as that scene. So, right. I mean, just to go a little further back in time on that one, but that was really well done. So. Yeah,
I thought that whole scene was really well done. I mean, if you're gonna have Superman kill somebody, then that was probably the most appropriate way.
But after that,
to save the world.
After that, no more killing. Usually Superman doesn't kill people, and I'm still going to have to go with that flow. I mean, I know there's been some moments in Smallville, but he wasn't Superman yet, so I think you can't just count the little stuff. I mean, that was for little stuff.
It was in that episode Gone.
It was in Gone. I think
season 4.
I'm sure he's done it in.
It was that Terminator 2 rip-off episode in Smallville.
And I guess there were some other people
But it was Lois and Clark.
Yeah. So
he had his vision on that T-1000 guy, and Lois had this freaking big, huge monster gun.
Yeah.
They're just like, wham, just laying it on him, and that T-1000 guy just goes, she just explodes.
And, of course, Zod, he doesn't need a knife coming out his wrist. That was terrible. That was a
in the
bad
Krypton scene.
That was
I
bad.
thought that was a little unnecessary.
They got that from Smallville. I don't know if that was an Easter egg, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys, that was back in season 6.
Yeah, he stabbed him.
When Clark Kent fought Titan, he punched Titan in the air. I don't know if you guys remember. He was
Jor-El got stabbed.
Yeah,
on Smallville.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about back in season 6, and Titan had a little knife thing come out of his wrist, like Zod. So, that scene when Clark fought him, he stabbed himself because he punched him in the air, and Titan accidentally stabbed himself. But the knife wasn't all that great. It was like a wooden knife. So I guess comparing that to Zod's weapons, more deadlier. But they still got that from Smallville. That was a whole Smallville thing. But like I said, it's necessary. He doesn't need a knife to kill Jor-El. He could have done it a different way, but
yeah,
it's already done. So I'm not.
I agree with that. Even I thought that was kind of like
that was kind of like a rip off from other stuff.
Wolverine or
Predator or something.
Predator.
I hate to say that,
Other sci-fi stuff.
Or horror movies.
It should have been more original. The whole point of this film was to be original and step away from
horror movies. It
kind of messed up on that.
Yeah, so...
But other than that, Michael Shannon was great. I thought he was such a good choice. I thought he was perfect. And I loved how he kept saying, my people. Like he was going a little nuts. My people.
I like his scar on his face.
Enough with your people.
I like his scar on his face. That was a good scar mark on his face.
Yeah, that was totally cool. And also, a lot of people have been criticizing that Kevin Costner was more like Superman than Henry Cavill because he sacrificed himself.
Well, that's true. I didn't really see much acting from Kevin Costner, to tell you the truth. It was just maybe some flashbacks. That's all I saw. I think I saw more with Jor-El more. With his, that actor, Russell Crowe. I think he did a good job. I think he did a better, I hate to say, I love Kevin Costner, but I think he did a better job than Kevin Costner. I just want to say that because I'm not saying he's better acting than Kevin Costner. I just
they were flashbacks.
The flashbacks with Kevin Costner, they were okay. He's a good actor. Maybe he didn't want to get involved in it too much. I don't know what the reason was, but I really can't tell. I didn't see much from him, really. Most of them were just flashbacks, and you did hear him talk to Clark now and then, but they were mostly negative stuff, though. I got a lot of negative stuff from him. So.
Did you like Jor-El being active in the film?
Oh, yeah.
With the whole story. Not just on Krypton, but even though he was a virtual character.
I think I like that. Yeah, it brought more life. I think it brought imagination. I don't think that's ever really done in the comic books like that.
No,
or in the movies, really.
It's pretty cool. And it reminded me of that 90s movie that Russell Crowe is in Virtuosity. I was like, hey, he's like doing part 2 now.
Yeah. So that was really sci-fi. And
that's the first time we saw Lois Lane with Jor-El in a movie interacting, even if it was a virtual Jor-El.
I think for the sequel plans, I would have Lex Luthor, since they already got that set in with the whole Lex.
It looks like they're setting up to it. We've seen too many Easter eggs just in your face, with the whole, those oil rig trucks, LexCorp. Come on, we just saw too many LexCorp Easter eggs. And the Wayne Tech satellite.
And for your Nolan fans, that Batman is gone. I'm sorry, guys. Most of you fans think that's going to be the Batman from the Nolan series. Can you believe that? They don't even know if that's a different Batman.
So they think it's going to be Christian Bale?
And I'm sorry about this, guys. That Batman is done. That realistic, wannabe, fake Batman is gone. I'm sorry, but it does not compare to the original movies. It is no style at all. It has no style in it. I
was not a Chris Nolan fan at all.
Not at all. That Batman was very bad. So I think what they need to do, if they're really going to work on Justice League, which I keep on hearing about, this Batman, he needs a different look. No more black. I think they need to add some gray tones to it. Maybe an old school kind of look. Maybe a little modern too.
Like Azrael.
Yeah, but, kind of like how they did in I'm not saying
just a different, change of suit. And, the one thing I didn't like about the Batman films, and I do like them, but I'm still more of the Tim Burton incarnation Batmans. I still really like those a lot.
Well, those were fun movies. They have more fantasy in them.
To me, that was more, I just like the music a lot better, and Hans Zimmer, I don't think he's that strong of a composer. I got used to the music in Man of Steel, but as far as Hans Zimmer's go, I thought the music in the first Batman movie, the Tim Burton one, was so creative. We had Prince. You know, we had hit soundtracks, we had a little bit of the pop music, we had, you know, I mean, it was just so well done. It was just so high up there on the scale. You know, the Man of Steel really didn't have that. It didn't have a strong soundtrack, and that's the weakest part of the entire movie of Man of Steel, is the soundtrack was not as strong as, you know,
it's okay.
Tim Burton Batman or Superman
or John
the movie.
Williams.
And I mean, they don't have to do Superman the movie.
No, exactly. They don't have to.
But the soundtrack was not that strong, and people criticize Hans Zimmer for being repetitive, for doing the same beats over and over again, and it does kind of sound like that.
I thought so too. Yeah, the soundtrack was okay. I think I just don't, when I listen to the soundtrack, it doesn't stay in my mind. It's not something you wake up every day listening to. So, the John Williams, I hate to go back really far into the past, I mean, and dun dun dun, I mean, that's always going to be my definitive song for Superman, even when I read the modern day comics, because that's the only way I can think of Superman. They gotta get away from this depressing meditation, whatever it is. They gotta change. I think for the sequels, they really gotta change it. They gotta redo it in a whole different way. But Superman didn't really have much of a theme. I didn't hear much of a theme, really.
In Man of Steel?
No, not really.
There wasn't really much of a Superman theme, but
not really.
I do like the emotional music when it was emotional. I did like that. And again, it wasn't bad. The soundtrack wasn't bad. You really catch on to it after a while, and then you start liking it. And because that's what you see, you start getting used to it. You know, like
and it's
with
a good
the song, you may not like it first, and then you hear it on the radio 5 times, and you're like, the song's great. You know?
Yeah, I think Hans Zimmer could do a better job, though. I don't know. So that's just my opinion.
I think this film had a good message, Man of Steel, was that, you know, if you keep abusing your planet, it's gonna fail. I think it's a good start. It's a good start. It's kind of like Smallville, you know, getting a slow beginning and then hopefully build up to something great. And maybe we'll see a Justice League movie with, you know, Batman in it and Flash and Aquaman. Who knows, you know? And there's this rumor going around now that we're going to see an Aquaman movie because of that one scene, the oil rig scene where Superman saves all those people.
I didn't know that. Wow.
In the ocean.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the ocean scene.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Okay, wow, Aquaman movie, that'd be nice.
Yeah, so you never know. I mean, maybe they're building up to that, or maybe it's just, you know, the wish of a fanboy and a fangirl or something. You know, I mean, anything with an ocean in it, they're like, hey, Aquaman, you know.
Well, that's kind of what I thought anyway. I mean, I never saw Clark travel in the ocean before, so...
Yeah.
That is different, but...
So who knows? Maybe before Man of Steel, he already met Aquaman. You never know. But me and Kyle want to thank you for listening to our review on Man of Steel. Again, there was a lot to say. So our long review and our long discussion, I hope that you enjoyed it, and we really, really enjoyed this journey on this movie, because it was a journey. If you remember our first podcast, we got a lot of criticism because we hadn't even seen the movie yet. Well, all we saw were trailers, and we were judging it on that because that's all we could judge it on. And then we saw more of it, more trailers, we heard the music, and we did another podcast. So this is the podcast after we've seen the movie 4 times. So it's been a journey for us, and we've had so much fun. As Superman fans, me and Kyle really had a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed going on that journey. So thank you for listening. We appreciate it, and we'll be back with more fun podcasts. Always remember your people. Remember you got your people out there.
Have a good one.
DC Universe Internet Radio Show.